exalted abd, or the best abd, which is the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He fulfilled all the requirements of the station of Ubudiyyah. So ibadah, when we try to define ibadah, how do we define ibadah? Technically.
In action that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with.
Yeah. So sometimes you find the scholars, and the same scholars, will define ibadah as a comprehensive word of all the actions, statements, as well as abstentions that Allah desires or Allah likes. So any action that you do that Allah likes is a form of ibadah. Any statement that you make that Allah likes is a form of ibadah. And any abstention, leaves, to abstain from something that Allah dislikes, this abstention will be desired by Allah. This refraining from this thing is desired by Allah. That is also an act of ibadah. But is this the essence of ibadah?
The beginning.
These are necessary manifestations of ibadah. But the essence of ibadah is a state of being. It is not a group, a combination of actions and statements and so on. It's a state of being. That state of being, by necessity, will make you abide in your actions, in your statements, and in your abstentions by that which Allah likes. So ibadah, in essence, is tamam al-hubbi ma'a tamam al-dhulli wal-khudur. The essence of ibadah, which is a state of being, not a group of actions, the state of being of the abd. When are you called the abd, or you have that state of being, is when you have complete submission and subservience, subjugation, humility, complete surrender to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Islam, surrender, submission. Islam means peaceful surrender, by the way. Don't take the peace out of it, because the sin and lam and mim will give all of those inferences. But Islam does not mean peace per se. It means peaceful surrender, peaceful submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the one who submits could submit by force or by will. And Islam means that you submitted willingly, submitted, by your own choice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the essence of Islam is about this submission. And it is peaceful submission because it is not submission out of fear only. It is not submission out of fear only. It is not submission to a higher authority only. It's a submission to the highest authority that you love more than anyone else. So the love accompanied by khawf wa raja, fear and hope, but predominantly the love, made you submit. So this is a willful submission. This is a peaceful submission. You are not dragged into submission. And that is why your submission will be in your scale of good deeds. That's why it will count before Allah, because you willingly submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it is this hub mixed with khawf and raja that made you submit. So ibadah is tamam al-hubbi ma'a tamam al-dhulli wal-khudur. It's the mixture of love and adoration with submission and subjugation, humility and subjugation. So dhull wal-khudur is to show humility, surrender, submission, subjugation, subservience, all of these. And al-hub is to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than anything else. And to love no one like you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we may talk, inshallah, tomorrow about the stations of love. So when you have those feelings combined for anyone, تمام الحب مع تمام الذل والخضوع. The ultimate love mixed with ultimate humility and subjugation, that is ibadah. That is ibadah. So if you have such feelings in your heart for anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is shirk. Shirk. Because you could love someone, but you don't surrender to them. And you could surrender to someone, but you don't love them. You surrender to, sometimes you surrender to your enemies. And you submit. And he could even sometimes show humility. That's not ibadah, unless you also love them more than anything else. So if it is that combination that can only be found in a moment's heart for one being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, brother.
One of the statements of loving someone fi sabilillah.
You love someone fi sabilillah. Ultimately, this love is relative, not absolute. Allah's love is absolute. And Allah's love is independent of anything else. Your love of your brother fi sabilillah is dependent on your love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In fact, you allocate all the love to Allah and then you dispense from it based on people's proximity to or distance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is the essence of al-wala wal-bara. The essence of al-wala wal-bara is that you remove yourself from the center. You're not at the center anymore. Because keep in mind, egotism, nationalism, racism, tribalism, all of those isms, what do they boil down to? Egotism. Yeah, because it's all about you. Because racist people do not really revere the race of others. They revere their own race. Tribal, you don't have affiliation for other tribes. You have like this zeal for your own tribe. You have zeal for your own clan. And within the clan you have zeal for your own family. So it is, about circles that are diverging from you, going out from you. Circles, circles, circles. Family, clan, tribe, race. You are at the center. So everything is about my tribe, my nation, my people, my race, my. But when it comes to al-wala wal-bara, when we talk about the ummah and allegiance for this ummah, it is completely not about my thing. It's about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is at the center now. And you remove yourself from the center. So not based on people's distance from or proximity to you, that you love them, but their distance from or proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is an expression of this, of having given up your right to this love. You say it is all Allah's, and then you start to dispense from it based on His desire, not yours. Certainly there are two different types of love, and there is love that is love that you're responsible for, love that you grow, love that you take care of, that you promote. And there is love that is forced upon you. There is love that is, inherent. You love those that are kind to you. This is inherent love. You would love your mother, even if your mother is not the best person in the world, or if she has like multitudes of problems, or father, or this. Inherently you love them. The Prophet loved Abu Talib. He was not Muslim. His uncle. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ is likely about Abu Talib. You do not guide whomever you please, but Allah guides whomever He pleases. So this is love that we find that is given to us as a second nature. We don't have control over this love. Are we responsible for this love? No. That is fine. You will by nature love those that are kind to you. You will by nature love those that are closer to you. You're not responsible for this love. The love that you're responsible for is the love that you actually promote, that you actually take care of, and that is the religious type of love. الحب الشرعي, not الحب الجبلي.
بارك الله فيك شيخ.
وإياكم. So, So then again, ibadah is the combination of the acts and the statements and the abstentions that Allah likes. These are the manifestations of ibadah. They all reflect a state of being, which is the essence of ibadah, which is tamam al-hubb ma'a tamam al-dhull wal-khudu', complete love mixed with complete humility and submission. Yeah, inshallah, I think that this is the question about the soul and the ensoulment and so on. So maybe at the end of every session I will cover the questions, inshallah, so that we don't interrupt the flow of the talk. So ibadah is what we were created for. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And I have not created the jinn and the ins but to worship me. Therefore, it comes without saying that if you fail to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you fail to reach excellence in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you failed in this life. No matter what you did, no matter what you became, or no matter what career you had, or how much money you collected, you fail at your main function, you fail. And some of the dua used to make very nice parables. And so they would say, for instance, if the pen doesn't write anymore, you could still use it for some other purpose. You could pick your ear with the pen or something. But that is the worth of the pen after it quits writing, because the main function of the pen is to write. If it's not writing anymore, then think of the functions of the pen after it quits writing. Very insignificant. Very insignificant. You become very insignificant. If the refrigerator stops cooling, you can still put the cereal on top of the refrigerator. Yeah? Or you could use it, but not even a good closet. But that's it. So the human being that is not, worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as he should, or is not, pursuing excellence in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a human being that lost his main function. Just like the pen that doesn't write, refrigerator that doesn't cool, car that doesn't move. Okay, so the types of ibadah, and each one of them we must, seek to reach excellence in each one of them. The sayings of the heart, the actions of the heart, the sayings of the body, the actions of the body. The saying of the heart is the testimony of faith. It is a tasdeeq. It is the belief, the faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The testimony of faith, before you say it by your tongue, you will say it by your heart. Acknowledgement, recognition and acknowledgement. That is the statement of the heart. The statements, the sayings of the body, the tongue, plenty, beginning from testimony of faith itself, we need to declare verbally to all of the others. The actions of the heart, that is about what we will talk about tomorrow and after tomorrow, inshallah, which is it's about humbleness, about humility, about devotion, about watchfulness, about, the removal of the bad qualities, fighting, showing off, ostentation, fighting arrogance, fighting self-deceit, ghurur, fighting ujb, self-conceit. All of these are the actions of the heart. So to have the baseline of faith below which you are not considered a believer, you have to have the baseline of each one of the aforementioned types. The more you have, the higher you transcend in the ranks of faith. Certainly there are many indications of the comprehensiveness of ibadah in Islam. So this hadith from Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu, in which he said, في بضع أحدكم صدقة, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, في بضع أحدكم صدقة. قالوا يا رسول الله يأتي أحدنا شهوته ويكون له فيه أجر. فقال أرأيتم لو وضعها في الحرام أكان عليه فيه وزر؟ قالوا نعم. قال كذلك إذا وضعها في الحلال كان له أجر. So it will be counted as a charity, the Prophet ﷺ said, it will be counted as a charity for you when you have intimacy with your wife. He said, O Messenger of Allah, one of us would fulfill his desire and be rewarded. He said, what do you think? Had he fulfilled it through haram, would he have been punished? And they said yes. And the Prophet ﷺ said likewise, if he fulfills it in halal, he would be rewarded. So it is Allah's generosity and justice. This is another hadith also. It's reported by Ahmad from Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, in which the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إن قامت الساعة وبيد أحدكم فسيلة فإن استطاع ألا تقوم حتى يغرسها فليفعل. Which means if the hour comes and one of you has a sprout in his hand, let him, or a seedling in his hand, let him plant it if he can. And this is a very powerful hadith, isn't it? You're all aware of this hadith because usually dua repeat it quite often. But it is a very powerful hadith, and it's about hope and determination. It's about sincerity, because you're not going to see it grow, but it doesn't matter. What you do, what's right, what's good, even if you're not going to see it. And for us Muslims, sometimes it gets to be very frustrating, to basically contemplate our conditions as Muslims. So like in Muslim countries, particularly back in Muslim countries, you have, sometimes people want everything to be quick, to be fast, and they want to see it, if they want to invest, they want to invest today so that they can, reclaim their investment yesterday, not tomorrow. Quickly, research, for instance, if you go to universities, or at least I'm talking from based on my own background, you go to universities, and people want to finish the study in a few days because eventually they want to present it, because eventually they want to earn acclaim and recognition and sometimes monetary benefits from this. Truly, as a Muslim, this should be foreign to us. This attitude should be foreign to us. At least it should be an attitude that we fight within ourselves, that we try to get rid of. It hurts you when you see that other people, commit to a 25-year-long, study, and they may be 60 or 50, 65 or 70 years old when they start to study. So most likely they will not be there when it gets presented in front, like in a convention or something, or a meeting. So they will just start the work and someone else will finish it. Shouldn't we Muslims be like this? Aren't we more deserving of this? Doesn't this hadith say just that and a lot more than that? It is, if the hour comes and you have a seedling in your hand, plant it if you can. So keep on doing good, regardless of, the likelihood of you watching it grow or watching it blossom. This is another hadith from Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu, reported by Bukhari and Muslim. السعي على الأرملة والمسكين كالمجاهد في سبيل الله. The narrator added, وحسبه قال وكالقائم لا يفطر وكالصائم لا يفطر. He who works to provide for the widow and the poor is like a mujahid in the cause of Allah, and I think he said, the narrator said, I think he said, and that who stands in prayers without boredom, and that who fasts indefinitely. So, when we talk about good deeds are essential ingredient in the discussion of Tazkiyah. Your prayers, your fasting, your abiding by the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are essential ingredients of your Tazkiyah, as we will come to know later, inshallah, when we talk about it tomorrow. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ فَعَلُوا مَا يُوعَظُونَ بِهِ لَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُمْ وَأَشَدَّ تَثْبِيتًا. Have they done what they were exhorted to do, it would have been better for them and would have strengthened their faith. It would have been better for them, it would have strengthened their faith. And then this long hadith reported by Bukhari from Abu Hurairah, if you go to the middle of the hadith, and he continues to draw closer to me with nawafil until I love him. If Tazkiyah, if the ultimate pursuit of Tazkiyah is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, here Allah is telling you that He will love you. Not only that you will love Him, but imagine He will love you. So do you need anything more than this? That you become beloved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah says here, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُهُ عَلَيْهِ وَمَا زَالَ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ. And my servant does not draw closer to me by anything more beloved to me than that which I have made obligatory on him, which I made farida on him. And he continues to draw closer to me by nawafil until I love him, by sunan and nawafil, optional acts, until I love him. فَإِذَا أَحْبَبْتُهُ, and when I love him, I become his hearing with which he hears, and his sight with which he sees, and his hand with which he strikes, and his leg with which he walks. And if he asks me, I will give him, and if he seeks refuge in me, I will protect him. I do not hesitate to do anything as I hesitate to take the soul of the believer, for he hates death, and I hate to sadden him. Okay, one more thing that we need to mention also, one more hadith, is that the Prophet ﷺ made it conditional here. You're abiding by the rules of the exterior is conditional for your success in your tazkiyah. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا يستقيم إيمان عبد حتى يستقيم قلبه ولا يستقيم قلبه حتى يستقيم لسانه ولا يدخل رجل الجنة لا يأمن جاره بوائقه. The faith of a servant is not put right or is not straightened until his heart is straight. And his heart is not straight until his tongue is straight. And the man whose neighbor does not feel safe from his heart shall not enter paradise. So basically you cannot claim that your heart is straight unless you have straightened your tongue, unless you have straightened your actions. Because the actions are but the manifestations of what's in the heart. So if the actions are corrupt, then the heart is corrupt. And if the actions are good, then the heart is likely good, but not necessarily good. But corrupt actions indicate corrupt heart, unless someone is forgiven because of ignorance or something of that nature. But corrupt actions indicate a corrupt heart. Good actions, there is another question to be asked. Are they truly for Allah? Because you could do lots of good actions for other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and those will not be an indication of the sound heart. In fact, there will be indications of a diseased heart. And ibadah, is not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not, when you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's for your own benefit, and Allah does not benefit from this ibadah. Muslim reported from Abu Dharr al-Ghifari this beautiful hadith that you can see on the screen here. يا عبادي إني حرمت الظلم على نفسي وجعلته بينكم محرما فلا تظالموا. In this hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this is a divine hadith, a holy hadith. In this hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا عبادي إنكم لن تبلغوا ضري فتضروني ولن تبلغوا نفعي فتنفعوني. يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم كانوا على أفجر قلب رجل واحد منكم ما نقص ذلك في ملكي شيئا. يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم كانوا على أتقى قلب رجل واحد منكم ما زاد ذلك في ملكي شيئا. يا عبادي لو أن أولكم وآخركم وإنسكم وجنكم اجتمعوا في صعيد واحد فسألوني فأعطيت كل واحد مسألته ما نقص ذلك في ملكي إلا كما ينقص ملكي حتى يدخل البحر. So, O my servants, you will never, the hadith began by, I make injustice, I made injustice forbidden upon myself, and I make it forbidden amongst you. But in the middle of the hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, O my servants, you will never be able to harm me, and you will never be able to benefit me. O my servants, if the first of you and the last, and the jinn and the ins from among you were to fear Allah as the best among you, that would not increase in my majesty or mastership any, my dominion, my lordship. It will not increase Allah's dominion. It will not make Allah's lordship any greater than it is. If we all worship Him like the most pious of us, if we're all as pious as the most pious of us, it will not benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it will not increase His lordship. So ultimately, it is about our own benefit. Ultimately, it's about our own survival. Why is it important to keep in mind? Why is it important? Because we should not قل لا تمنوا علي إسلامكم بل الله يمن عليكم أن هداكم للإيمان إن كنتم صادقين. But do not consider it a favor upon me that you became Muslims. But it is Allah that considers it a favor upon you that He guided you to faith, if you're truthful. If you're truthful about your faith, then you should know that it is Allah's favor on you, that He guided you to faith. It is not your favor on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you... So sometimes we may feel like, I am doing so much. Look at the people around you, and look at where they are, and look at how negligent they are. I go to the masjid more than them. I even fast more than most of the people around me. I do this, I do that. And shaitan will make you, because the shaitan will have so many tricks to use. And if you're shown commitment, then the shaitan will make you observe your own excellence. And once you have observed your own excellence, you're destroyed. Because all of that is Allah's favor on you, that He guided you, that He empowered you, enabled you to do all of this, that He did not distract you by other things. So all of this is Allah's favor on you. That's why our righteous predecessors used to say, كيف نشكره حق شكره وشكره يحتاج إلى شكر. How could we thank Him enough when thanking Him requires more thanking? Because had it not been for His guidance, you would have not thanked Him. So when you thank Allah, you should thank Him for having guided you to thanking Him. When you show gratefulness, gratitude, then you should say to yourself, you should feel indebted to Allah for having guided you to show gratitude. The individual ibadat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that these individual ibadat, each one of them works to bring us closer to Allah, works to purify our hearts, works to give us taqwa, such as siyam, for instance, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون, or you believe, Fasting was prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, that you may attain piety. لن ينال الله لحومها ولا دماؤها ولكن يناله التقوى منكم كذلك سخرها لكم لتكبروا الله على ما هداكم وبشر المحسنين. It's neither their meat nor their blood that reaches Allah, but it is piety from you that reaches Him. So some people show off. Even Abu Ayyub al-Ansari said, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, each one of us each head of the household used to slaughter one sheep for the entire household. Then it became a matter of showing off. Then it became a matter. So Abu Ayyub al-Ansari is talking to the Tabi'een. That we, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, did this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Udhiyah. We used to slaughter each, head of the household used to slaughter for the entire household. But then it became a matter of showing off. So people sort of try to outdo each other in udhiyah. And then you bring in like a bigger, sheep or something, and you show off your sheep. You put it in front of your house, or in the backyard or something, so that you show it off. And someone brings in a cow, to slaughter, because and if you truly do this out of the desire to feed the poor, then certainly you're fine. You do more, it's better. You do 7 cows, that's great. 70 cows, that's great. But it is about your intent. What is it that you want from this? So if you buy a cow because my brother also bought a cow and my cousin bought a cow, then how would they sacrifice a sheep when everybody else is sacrificing cows? Then it loses its meaning, because ultimately it is not the blood or the flesh that will reach Allah. It is the piety of your hearts. So when the piety is gone, because it lost its meaning, it became for showing off, then it is money that you're losing. It's money that you're losing. صدقة خذ من أموالهم صدقة تطهرهم وتزكيهم بها وصل عليهم إن صلاتك سكن لهم. Take donations or alms or charity from their wealth in order to purify them and sanctify them with it, and invoke Allah for them. Verily, your invocations are a source of tranquility for them. Okay, so we'll stop here and take this question, inshallah, and then take a break. So there is a question here. Can you please explain the soul coming to the womb? Is there an agreement among the scholars? If the person who wrote the question doesn't mind asking, clarifying what they want particularly, what is it that they want to ask about? Because there is a lot to say about the soul coming to the womb.
It's about the days. Is it 40? You said first 40 or the third 40 days?
Yeah. So the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud indicates, the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, in some of its narrations, إن أحدكم يجمع خلقه في بطن أمه 40 يوما أو 40 ليلة نطفة ثم يكون علقة مثل ذلك ثم يكون مضغة مثل ذلك ثم يرسل إليه الملك فينفخ فيه الروح. So far, the creation of one of you, or the gathering of one of you, takes place in the womb of his mother for 40 days in the form of a drop, and then for 40 days in the form of a clot, or a leech-like clot, and then for 40 days in the form of a chewed piece of flesh. And then the angel will be sent to him and commanded to breathe the soul into him. So from this hadith, from this narration, the scholars felt that you are nutfa for 40 days. Most of the scholars felt you are nutfa for 40 days. Then you're alaqa for 40 days. Then you're mudgha for 40 days. and that is 120 days. And then the angel will be sent to breathe the soul into you. To breathe the soul into you. That is the position of the majority of scholars. However, even some of our earlier scholars, such as Ibn Zamlakani and others, they contested this position because in some other hadith, it actually says that the malak will be sent after 42 days. Hadith that's reported in Muslim from Hudayfa radiallahu anhu. It says that the malak will be sent after 42 days. And also this very hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud has other narrations in which there is a slight variation in the wording. So the narration that was reported by Muslim of this hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the Prophet ﷺ said, ثم يكون علقة في ذلك مثل ذلك ثم يكون مضغة في ذلك مثل ذلك. Then he will be alaqa, or a leech-like clot, in that for an equal period. In that is what? Is it in the womb or in the 40 days? So the Prophet ﷺ said, it says here, is brought together in his mother's belly or womb for 40 days. Which one is mentioned last, the 40 days or the mother's womb? The 40 days mentioned last. In the form of a drop, then he is a clot of blood for a like period. In some other report, then he is a clot in this for a like period. In this. What is this? The 40 days or the belly? So the scholars who say that it is all in the first 40 days, they say no. The word "this" here refers back to the 40 days because that's the last thing that was mentioned. So in this, so the alaqa in the 40 days, the first 40 days, and the mudgha in the first 40 days. And medically speaking, it is all in the first 40 days. Because the alaqa, the mudgha, and so on, the embryogenesis is complete by 58 days, and then you grow. But all of your organs have been already formed by 58 days. And then we have the hadith of Hudayfa, the other hadith of Hudayfa, which talks about 42 days. And we have the report of this, the Muslims report of this hadith, which says in this, which means in the first 40 days. So that position is stronger. Now, then we come to the second dilemma here. If we say all of this happens in the first 40 days, and then the angel will be sent, ثم يرسل إليه الملك. Does that mean that the malak will be sent to breathe the soul into the body after the first 40 days? The word ثم does not mean immediacy. It means then, thereafter. Thereafter, not immediately thereafter. It had been فيرسل إليه الملك, then it would have meant immediately thereafter. ثم, it means thereafter. Which means what? After some time. Now we have in the Quran, like in the beginning of Surah Al-Mu'minun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فخلقنا المضغة عظاما فكسونا العظام لحما ثم أنشأناه خلقا آخر فتبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. We have made the mudgha into bones, and then we have encased the bones with flesh, and then we made him a different creation. ثم أنشأناه خلقا. Then we made of him a different creation. Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu said, then we made of him a different creation, means we breathed the soul into him. نفخنا فيه الروح. What does that mean? It means that the nafkh of al-ruh, which is ensoulment or the breathing of the soul, does not happen immediately after the stage of mudghah. Because Allah mentioned two different stages after the mudghah, which is the chewed piece of flesh. فَخَلَقْنَا الْمُضْغَةَ عِظَامًا. We made the mudghah into bones. That's a stage after the mudghah. And then فَكَسَوْنَا الْعِظَامَ لَحْمًا. And we wrapped or encased or clothed the izam with flesh, the bones with flesh. So that means what? It means there is like a latency between the stage of mudghah and the breathing of the soul. The scholars have reported consensus that the breathing of the soul, some of the verifying scholars reported consensus that the breathing of the soul happens at 120 days. So we will go by this consensus, even though we will consider the formation of the stages of formation, nutfa, mu'alaqa, mudghah, to happen in the first 40 days. Because we believe there is a period between the formation and the ensoulment, which is when it will become bones and the bones will be wrapped by flesh and so on. So that's as far as I believe in concerning this issue. How does Allah become one's hearing, seeing, walking, etc.? So your hearing and seeing will be in accordance with the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will be, there is, the union of purpose is different from the union of essence. Your togetherness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not mean union in essence. Because union in essence is a deviant theology, where there is no distinction between the creation and the creator. But there is union of purpose. When your purpose is completely according to His, completely subservient to His, you cannot separate between your purpose and His. And if Jesus actually said, God and I are one, which is, in the current versions of the New Testament, if He actually said this, then we would say that He meant we're one in purpose. Like, my purpose is exactly like God's purpose, that we are one in purpose. Like, I don't deviate from His will. My will is in complete conformity with His, that it is completely united in that sense. So that is the union of purpose. And then all of your actions, your hearing, your seeing will be in complete conformity, accordance with the divine will, and that will be certainly the highest station. Does the hadith, the faith of the servant is not put right until his heart is put right? Does this hadith to the argument of those Sufi sects who claim that the love of Allah needs to Allah needs to in-person heart before he worries about the actions. Don't they always? Enforce the love, not the actions. Yeah. Well, let's just, so that we don't, let's be very clear that not everyone who's called Sufi invites those innovations. It is extremely clear, despite the fact that the Sufi path has been polluted by a lot of corruption caused by the deviant practitioners of Sufism, and that became so prevalent in our modern times amongst them. The Sufi path in and of itself does not mean deviation, and not every Sufi practitioner or seeker of this path has been deviant or is deviant. This is important to know. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he talked a lot about Sufism, right? He critiqued Sufism so much, but he divided Sufism after all to Sufism that is straight and Sufism that is deviant. Sufism that is in accordance, conformity with the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, like the Sufiya of Junayd and Al-Harith al-Muhasabi and those people, and Sufism that is deviant, like that of Al-Hallaj and Ibn Arabi and so on. So this is extremely important to keep in mind. Now, that the path has been polluted by a lot of deviation does not mean that everybody who walked down that path is corrupt or is also polluted. But for those of them, that's why we, like I prefer, and we should all prefer to use words like Tazkiyah, for instance, because the word tasawwuf itself is a word that was not used by the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. It's a terminology that became, so vague, like because of the practitioners. Many of the seekers of this path have damaged the term itself. And it is better that we just stick to Tazkiyah, because that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used in the Quran. يُعَلِّمُهُمْ كِتَابَ الْحِكْمَةَ يُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمْ كِتَابَ الْحِكْمَةِ to purify them and teach them the book and wisdom, or to teach them the book of wisdom and to purify them. So I prefer to use the word Tazkiyah. However, the word tasawwuf in itself does not mean deviation is not synonymous with deviation. The word tasawwuf is not synonymous with deviation. Some of the deviant sects amongst this path, they certainly emphasize the work or the actions of the heart at the expense of the actions of the body. They created a dichotomy or a conflict that does not exist, because the Prophet and his companions never failed on either side, of this equation, the body or the heart. They never quit working, the work of the exterior, because they reached the highest station of the interior. And they were most deserving of those highest of stations. Abu Bakr, Umar, later on the Prophet ﷺ, but Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, we have always known that they were committed with their prayers, their fasting, their abiding by the law and the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, internally and externally until the end of their lives. So yes, this hadith amongst, the lives of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ is your greatest argument in this regard, because they never failed at their commitment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. the commitment of the exterior as well as that of the interior, the Prophet ﷺ and his companions. So whoever, whenever anyone tries to put down or downplay the importance of the pillars of Islam, after all, is Salah, Siyam, Hajj, Zakat. These are acts of the exterior, not acts of the interior. So anyone who tries to put down or downplay the pillars of Islam, then they must be deviant, and the life of the Prophet and his companions is your best argument against them. Let's take a break for 10 minutes and then come back, inshallah.